Hello everyone, and thanks so much for all the support with all my videos, and thanks to everybody who subscribed to my YouTube channel. I'm very, very grateful, and everybody who continues to share my videos. I'm very appreciative of all your support. Today I'd like to speak about Eoghan Murphy, the ex-Fine Gael Housing Minister who resigned back in 2021. He was responsible for much of the crises we're facing today, with record homelessness. Over 10,000 people became homeless on his watch, record rents, record house prices, and forcing more and more people and families to emigrate because of the massive increase in accommodation costs. But of course, Murphy has facilitated this through his policies and his party's policies. But coincidentally, Murphy now has decided to write a book called Running from Office. 3 years after his departure, he has now done the media circuit in Ireland, been on many of the mainstream media platforms talking about his book and talking about his time in office. So a man who was responsible for the housing disaster is now trying to profit from his time as Minister for Housing, which I find remarkable, but not surprising, showing the absolute neck of some of these politicians who are completely detached from reality. Murphy now works as a consultant on international elections and is based in London. And at the weekend, a press launch was held in London at the offices of the Irish Embassy. Now, why was a press launch for an ex-Fine Gael Housing Minister held in the Irish Embassy? Surely they should have no hand, act or part in any launches for TDs, ministers, or let alone ministers who have now resigned and are working in the private sector. But of course, this is how Ireland works and how corruption works in Irish society. And who was paying for this launch? I'm sure it was the Irish taxpayer paying for it. There are some reports that up to €75,000 was the cost for this launch. But of course, look a little bit deeper and dig a little bit deeper in this, and you'll find out what's going on in Ireland. Because the ambassador to the UK is a man by the name of Martin Fraser. Martin Fraser was one of these career civil servants who was the Secretary General of the Department of Taoiseach and served under a number of Taoiseach, such as Enda Kenny, Leo Varadkar, and probably had access to many of these politicians. And Eoghan Murphy, I'm sure, is a good friend of Martin Fraser himself. So political connections move all the way to the top in Irish society, don't they? And who pays for it? All of us. But it wasn't only that. His launch was held with the appearance of Ryan Tubridy, who had an interview style questions and answers session with Murphy. So Ryan Tubridy, we all know from the scandal in RTE, where the €150,000 overpayment that I think he still hasn't paid back. But of course, this is how Ireland works and how corruption works in Irish society. Murphy, as I said, was responsible for much of the housing disaster we're facing today. But of course, he's trying to claim that he didn't have any part in this because all the power rested with Leo Varadkar, Paschal Donohoe, and the Attorney General. Of course, they have a lot of power, and that is without doubt. But at the same time, Eoghan Murphy was well willing to take his payment and his pension as Minister for Housing and claiming he wasn't responsible. He famously said co-living was like a boutique hotel style accommodation. Now this is interesting because I'm here in Rathmines, as you can see, and behind me is a co-living development that international money's come into Ireland and is benefiting from. There's 110 units there, and a car parking space, a disabled car parking space accommodation would cost you €1,850 per month. So when Eoghan Murphy was saying he had no responsibility, he was the man who was responsible for bringing in so much of the co-living, worker cells accommodation in Ireland. Of course, this is international money making huge profits from the misery of people who are desperate for accommodation. I'm here in Rathmines, and this is huge issues for people facing a shortage of accommodation in this community. And their answer is to have a disabled car parking space accommodation for people to pay the privilege of, starting from 1,850 per month. Of course, many more are profiting from Eoin Murphy's policies, but he's more interested in having his press launches and his book launches in the Irish Embassy, of all places, in London, rather than facing up to the responsibility of the disasters that his policy has created. And at the sharpest end, we've seen the policies of his party create in Irish society and continue to create chaos in Ireland. So this is what's going on in Rathmines. This is what's going on in Ireland. And Eoin Murphy is at his publicly paid event in London, given his big press launch on his book. So thanks for the support with my videos, really appreciate them. And this is how corruption works in Irish society. And please press subscribe to my YouTube channel. So from Dublin, Slán. Thanks.